Happy days, happy days. This is Annihilation, and I'm finally ready to begin painting. I primed at least the Swarmlord, but I'm a bit worried about the paint scheme, the color scheme, and I haven't, like I said, I haven't painted in years and years and years. So what I actually did is I primed some of the parts I didn't use. I primed his very cool big bone sword. I primed a venom cannon and I primed one of the flying hive time legs um, because I wanted to get a range of different surfaces to try and put some paint on, try some basic wet blending, later do some washes, which I was never really good at. And of course, I got my wet palette all set up. This is my very cool little wet palette. Bonk, bonk. Excellent. And pot of water for my brushes. My brush is right in front of me. And what I thought I'd do is I thought I'd just give it a shot. As far as color scheme for the Swarmlord goes, I'm still not sure. I've seen really great ones online. Of course, you don't really want to just copy some dude. I like both the natural colors, like people who went more like, hey, this is a naturally occurring set of colors that might go well together. It could be camouflagey, which of course for Lictors and Death Leapers and Gene Stealers is great. And to some extent the Gaunts and the Ripper Swarms. But I also really like the bold, sort of dramatic color schemes, just like, insect, like tropical insect colors, like red and yellow, like, oh my god, I'm poisonous, don't eat me. So I might do a little bit of both. I might do the Venom Cannon one way, the Bone Sword another way, the leg yet another way. And of course, the selection of paints I have right now is quite limited. I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 paints, which, yeah, you can safely expect that collection to grow. But yeah, let's put some paint on the wet palette. Let's put some on the models and see how we do. This is not a fancy setup with dual cameras, and there's not going to be any cut to finished product. So I'm just going to tilt my webcam down so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to paint on some paper towel, and hopefully that is something we can both enjoy. Here we go. That might not be close enough, actually. What if I hold it up here while I paint? Is that going to work? Focus is not great, is it? Let's just try and see. Here we go. Some dark green to start with, I think. Maybe do a base coat in brown. Brown is good. Let's do a base coat in whatever this is. This is called mahogany. That could be interesting. I'm going to try some mahogany as a base coat. Again, that natural color is something that I wanted to try, so that is what we're going to try for now. We're going to take a chisel brush for this, I think. With the base coat, we don't have to be all that precise, I think. So let's go with the chisel. The number 6 chisel brush is the one I'm going with. In case you care, the company is called Handy Crown. Please don't ask, I have no idea. We're going to get our pot of water there. Get some water on the brush. That looks decent. Okay. I will need a stir, it looks like. Yeah, I'm going to need a stick of some sorts. I have one here. This stick. Mix, 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 mix. That is that is deep mahogany. This is what you would have found at a country club in the earliest 20th century, maybe 19th. Oh, this is nice. Okay, we're going to go with that. And put some on the wet palette. Dunk, 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 dunk. Actually, on the wet palette, in the garish light of my my hobby lamp, this looks a lot like baby poo, but we're going to call it mahogany. We're going to stick to naming conventions. Let's see. That stir goes there. I think we'll start with the Venom Cannon, which is actually a really cool model. I just never really liked shooting Nids, so that will require some more water, I think. Again, consistency-wise, they say lots of thin layers, which I'm happy to do. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. I'm just applying that mahogany in a very thin layer across the model. It was primed two coats. I think I talked about that in one of my other videos. I had a black and I had a light gray primer. So I primed it black first and then light gray at like a 45-degree angle at the top bit. So the bottom of this Venom cannon is almost completely black, and then the top is actually quite light gray. That's supposed to help pop the model later. And we'll see how that goes. I'm actually really interested in that because that sounded like a great idea, but like I've said, like I've never done it in practice, so may or may not work out in the end. Hopefully some of this water, this is very watery at the moment. I'm getting it in all the little recesses, which is quite nice, but hopefully they'll dry well. Like maybe this is a bit much. I might want to dab some of that up. And like I said, we're going to go very slow, so you'll see me do probably more coats than is necessary, especially in the beginning, as I try to work on what kind of consistency I like to work with. But in general, like I'm not in a rush, and I'm really looking forward to experiencing this process again, learning from, like I said, my mistakes. And hopefully, you know, if I make a bunch of mistakes, maybe you won't have to, I don't know. Or maybe seeing other people make mistakes is good for your self-confidence. I don't mind, I'm not shy. The YouTube channel is probably a hint there. This mahogany is very light, but I'm hoping that'll give it more of a natural look when I start going in with more opaque colors or brighter colors later. When I first painted miniatures, in fact, I've painted a Hive Tyrant before, I think. At least started painting one. I don't think I ever finished anything. When I first started painting them, Hive Fleet, I want to say Kraken, maybe, was in the White Dwarf magazines. And I think that one was the one with like this, their, if you want to call it skin, that might be the wrong word, hide. Their carapace was sort of a bone color, and then their armored bits were red, I want to say. And if I got that Hive Fleet wrong, by all means, correct me in the comments. I know it's Behemoth, Kraken, Jormungandr. Don't worry about that, it's an alarm. Jormungandr, and there must have been another few since then that I am not aware of. Obviously, Hive Fleet Behemoth, I think, was the one that got stopped at Macragge, the Ultramarines planet, using the almighty power of plot armor. But the other ones, I'm not sure what happened to them. I know one went to the warp, which is like, hey, let's chuck a bunch of Tyranids into the warp to fight demons. That'll work out well. And I think one of them was redirected into an Orc Wog, which again, not great because the Orcs just keep getting bigger and the Tyranids just keep adapting and chucking more, well, everything at them. So, and I'm not 100% sure how that ended. All I know is that in that case, the Imperium doesn't win. You're gonna get a bunch of giant orcs stomping around, and or a bunch of really, really overfed Tyranids. What you want to do is you want to divert the Hive Fleets into as many Necron planets as possible, and hope they take care of themselves. So you can focus on, well, all your other enemies. God, the Imperium has so many enemies. Can't you just be, you know? Why can't we be friends? Okay, no, I won't do that. I won't bother you with singing, obviously. At least not more than that. This is now fairly thoroughly mahogany, I think. I'm having quite a hard time seeing some of the details through the light here. And again, I'm going in really, really light coats. Like, I don't want any of that chalky nonsense that I remember from before. I'm dabbing up wherever the water pulls a little bit too much. But I will show you what that looks like at the moment. The bone sword is untouched. It is black and gray. the Venom Cannon is clearly a different color now, and this camera will not zoom in on these things, which is really annoying. But if it comes down to that, I will get a 4K HD webcam for this, because this might not work in the long run. Anyway, you can kind of see it there, that the Venom Cannon is a different color. Still kind of wet. Anyway, that's one coat. The idea here is to eventually go to these greens. I've got some great greens here. I'm going to use these for Rock Megaboss. But I also want to use them for probably the skin tone on the Swarmlord, where he's going to be predominantly green, and his carapace, the armored bits of him, are going to be black with then some detailing. So I don't want to just be flat black and that's it, because that just looks like you primed your model and didn't bother to paint it. What I would like is some black with some layering. So underneath the black you might see some stripes or something. Or I even thought about camo patterns. Hang on, I can talk to you again now. Some camo patterns or spots, or like I said, a more natural look is the one I wanted to start with. If it turns out that that's super awful, or I don't like it, or something like that, what I will do is I will try the super hardcore red one and see how I feel. I will show you one other thing, which is that I did go with the wings on the Swarmlord. So wings and 2 giant scything talons is the one I went with. I do want him to stand. I didn't want him to have the flying base thing. I like the idea of him standing. As far as composition goes, and I didn't know this, the wings, they used to be sort of like you had to kit bash wings from other models onto your Hive Tyrant to make them, or you had to be really very, very good with Sculpey or green stuff. But now they come with these, which means that they actually slot into the top. He's got 4 arms. They slot into the top shoulder joint, so to speak. And then the membranes of the wings are glue ridges, which means that if you stick them onto the torso, the membrane of the wing also sort of comes up from the torso, which looks both nice in a modeling way and gives these quite big, heavy wings more purchase with the super glue. So that's actually really nice. That being said, the left wing, I did do that. I did stick it exactly where it slots into the model. The right wing, I had to move a little bit to get the pose I wanted, because the Swarmlord is looking off to his right, which has to do with the way that his legs are positioned and his tail moving off to this right. I want him to have a right side lean. So the right siding talon, well, English hard. The right siding talon follows his gaze to the right, so he's about to stab something in the face. And then the left one is also coming around, even though it has to be a little bit wider, so you have a way into the model. I didn't want this siding talon to block the composition. But that's where he is, and you can see again, he is quite gray up here at the top, and then quite very black at the bottom. So there's natural shading going on in the primed model, which is, again, I like that idea a lot. I'm going to continue painting the Bone Sword, the Venom Cannon, and the extraneous leg, and once I'm a little bit further along, I'll come back to you and show you more progress. See you next time.